Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of West Bend Licensing Board for June 21st at 6:25 p.m. Note that we have 7 items on the agenda. We do have a quorum. The first being approval of the minutes. Number 1, Licensing Board regular meeting minutes for June 7th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then I'll have Alderman Butchlick take 2 and 3 as I will be abstaining.
Original Class A combination liquor license for Quick Trip, Inc., Quick Trip number 1082, 1625 West Washington Street.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Original Class B combination liquor license for Sheenan and Felix Sanchez, previously Moonlighting, 326 Commerce Street.
John, I think you're on 3. Number 3.
I'm sorry. I had the wrong. Original Class A combination liquor license for Quick Trip, Inc., Quick Trip 1062, 1580 East Washington Street.
Motion to approve 1082.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right. Thanks, John. And then we'll move to number 4, original Class B combination liquor license for Sheena and Felix Sanchez, previously Moonlighting at 326 Commerce Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion seconded. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Number 5, extension of premise for Pint and Chaser LLC, Pint and Chaser Pub at 160 South Main Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And number 6, massage establishment license renewals, which is in your packet.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion seconded. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then number 7, secondhand jeweler article pawnbroker license renewals, which are in your packet as well.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion second. Any discussion on those? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And having no further business for the licensing board, I adjourn by the call of the chair. And then we're going to move over to Common Council. So I'll call to order the City of West Bend Common Council meeting for June 21st, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Note that we do have a quorum with Alderman Dolnick absent and excused. Hope everyone had a wonderful Father's Day this past weekend. And I ask you all to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And we'll start with approval of the minutes. Number 1, the Common Council regular meeting minutes from June 7th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Model and Allen. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we will move on to proclamations, as this one is fitting for our next item. This proclamation is the July 2021 is Parks and Recreation Month proclamation. I'll ask for a motion first.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Allen and Model. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And this proclamation so reads, whereas parks and recreation activities enhance the physical and mental health of individuals, workforces, and communities, and whereas parks and recreation opportunities and open space enhance the desirability of communities as locations for business, industry, and residential housing, and whereas parks and open space are vital to the appearance and livability of communities, protect our air and water, and balance our ecosystem. And whereas it is the right of everyone, regardless of age, race, color, religion, gender, national origin, or ability, to participate in parks and recreation programs and activities and enjoy parks and our open spaces. And whereas parks and recreation stimulates tourism revenues and the economic development of communities. Now, therefore, I, CHRISTOPHE Jenkins, Mayor of the great city of West Bend, do hereby proclaim July 2021 as Parks and Recreation Month here in the city of West Bend. And I encourage all citizens of West Bend to participate in the many great special events and programs in our parks in the month of July and throughout the entire year. And with that, I'd like to jump to number 15, which is a resolution honoring Mr. James White and naming the cabin at Ridge Run Park the Jim and Ann White Family Cabin. I would like a motion on that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And does anybody have the resolution down there? Because I can't get my thing to work. Otherwise, I'd be happy to read it. I was trying to get it up this whole time while we were waiting. Get it? Thank you. All right. So this resolution so reads, whereas James White was appointed to the Park and Recreation Commission on April 20th, 1982. In 1984, he became the chairman, faithfully serving as chairman for 35 years and finishing his dedicated volunteer service as a commissioner in 2021. And whereas during his 35 years as chairman of the Park and Recreation Commission, James White also served as a member of the Plan Commission. And whereas James White selflessly dedicated his leadership for the betterment of the community and the development of an award-winning park and trail system and providing countless recreational opportunities to our citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of West Bend, Washington County, Wisconsin, honors James White and expresses its deep appreciation for his years of dedicated service with the naming of the cabin in Ridge Run Park, the Jim and Ann White Family Cabin. And this is passed and approved as of today's date. So let's give Jim a round of applause. So I have no problem dating myself. The amount of experience and years that you have serving our city is longer than I've been alive. So, so I appreciate it, and I know you have a few words you'd like to share. Go ahead.
Yes, I would. Is this on now? I assume. Okay. Good. I want to thank you very much. This is quite an honor and everything else. And can I say it's very, very much appreciated. And it's just the little bit that we can do to give back to our city, I think. But anyway, I do have a few words. So, since 1982, the West Bend Park Recreation and Forestry Department has continued to see an orderly and dynamic growth. Most notably, an increase in the park acreage to more than 1,000 acres, extensive renovation of Regner Park facilities and swimming accommodations, the creation and enhancement of all neighborhood parks, and the vital growth and update of the Lac La Ronde Conservancy. Also, there was a nomination as a National Gold Medal Award finalist by the National Park Recreation Association in 2 separate years. Now, this was all accomplished through the foresight, diligence, and efforts of the exceptional Park Recreation and Forestry leadership and the staff under the oversight and governance of the Park Commission, and not to be forgotten, the very active support and enthusiasm of many citizens/friends groups. It's been an honor and a privilege to have been a part of this exceptional growth as a member of the Park Commission for 39 years. I appreciate the confidence of the 5 mayors who appointed me as a commissioner. It's been a distinct honor to have served with a multitude of dedicated fellow commissioners who gave generously of time, talent, and vision to move the West Bend Park Recreation and Forestry Department forward. Finally, I could not have done anything without the support and encouragement of my dear wife, Ann. Love you, hon. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, come on up.
My name is Mike Starl, and I'm the Park Commission Chairman now. And I personally want to thank Jim for all the years he put forward to City of West Bend. You can call him a Bender, West Bender, okay? And he's mentored me in my job, bringing me up through all the years, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have no problem opening up. If there's anybody else from the audience or anybody on the council who would like to say a few words, you can as well. Otherwise, I will. Jim, I really appreciate our last phone call conversation when you were talking about your not only your dedication to public service, but how at some points it was like pulling teeth to get people to want to serve on various boards and committees, and how much we've truly grown in that aspiration for those who are willing to serve and dedicate time to our community. So, being able to see the amount of time that you've dedicated to our city is truly an honor, and it's definitely hard to find nowadays. So, thank you so much for your service, and we'll end this with one more round of applause for Jim. Thank you. And with that, I will recess the Common Council.
I would like to call to order the Board of Public Works. We have 5 items on the agenda. Approval of minutes of the meeting June 7, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any corrections? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2, approval of long-term stormwater management practices, maintenance agreement, Quick Trip 1058, Paradise Drive and River Road. Good evening, Max.
Good evening. Thank you. This is one of those long-term maintenance agreement that the city enters into with property owners when those properties are issued a stormwater management permit. Basically, the agreement is to ensure that all the stormwater management facilities that are installed on the property will be taken care of and maintained in the future by the property owner. So this agreement is for the new development of Quick Trip at the corner of Paradise Drive and River Road. This is a redevelopment of an existing gas station where they will have a new gas station, convenience store, parking lot reconfiguration, and of course the stormwater management facilities that I indicated. We recommend the board and council to approve this agreement, and the original is attached for recording.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Max? If there aren't any, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item
Thank
number
you.
3, a resolution approving the compliance maintenance annual report of the City of West Bend sewer utility.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here seeking approval of the 2020 CMAR. There was 9 sections in this report. We received A's in all sections, giving us a 4.0. Because of that, the Wisconsin DNR doesn't require any further comment, just approval by the Board of Public Works and resolution by the Common Council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? If there are none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 4, award contract 2106 TIF 14 Forge Place Construction.
Thank you again. This item is to award a contract to construct Forge Place. The city recently created a tax increment district number 14 to develop an industrial park on the south side of the city for medium to large scale industrial sites. And we talked about this last year, that in order to accommodate transportation and utilities to the future developments, we would be coming to the board and council to award contracts to install those roads and utilities. And this is the first new road in that industrial park. It's Forge Place on the east side of River Road. So we bid the contracts and we opened the bids on Wednesday, June 16. We received 7 bids. However, 1 bid was not read because they were missing some documentation. The rest of the bids are summarized in your memo. And the low bidder is Crewcheck Construction from Green Bay, Wisconsin. The pre-bid estimate was approximately $2.9 million, and the low bid is around $2.2 million. We have reviewed the qualification of Crewcheck Construction. They have done work for the city in the past, and based on that work, we find they are capable of of constructing the project. Therefore, we will recommend that the board award the base bid of the contract to Crochet Construction in the amount of $2,237,237.37 at the unit prices specified in their bid, as well as contingency for a total allocation not to exceed $2,350,000 for this project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Max? Yes, Alderman Allen?
Max, I noticed we're not awarding alternate one.
Yes, the difference between the base bid and alternate one was that as part of this contract, we will construct a pond as part of our stormwater management facilities for the industrial park, at least for this phase one. And in order to keep a permanent pool of water in that pond, we need to have a liner at the bottom of it to prevent infiltration of that water. We bid the base bid with a liner made out of PVC, a PVC membrane, and we offered the contractor the opportunity to build that liner with clay instead of bringing in PVC material. So we had the base bid with the PVC liner and the alternate with the clay. The alternate was just an add deduct. So if you use the clay instead of the PVC, is it going to cost me this much more money or this much less money? And what we found was that the PVC ended up being more expensive, at least in the low bids that we had. So we went with the lower cost option of installing the PVC liner.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Item number 5, agreement for improvement within existing easement, 1357 Lily Avenue.
Thank you again. Jeffrey and Tamara Cook are property owners at 1357 Lily Avenue, and there is a municipal stormwater easement on their property that crosses, and they would like to install a fence around the boundaries of their property. They indicated that the reason for that fence is to for the safety of one of their children, is a special need child, and they have provided a plan showing where the fence would be located, a description of the fence, and after looking at what we need for this stormwater management easement, we find it acceptable to let them install that fence across the easement. Therefore, we recommend that the board and council approve the agreement that we drafted and that the city attorney reviewed. It's an agreement between the city and the property owner to specify rights and responsibilities of each party regarding this fence on their property.
Second.
Okay, any questions for Max? I do have one, Max. What happens if the property owner sells the property and we have a new owner there? Will that be put on the bill of sale, or that the next people own that are understand that they will be responsible for removing that fence if there would happen to be any issues with the stormwater down the road?
Yes, in the agreement, there's a clause number 6 here that specifies that this agreement shall run with the land and be binding on all future owners of any interest in the lot. Therefore, if they sell the land, the future owner will have to abide by this agreement. We're going to record this agreement so that it will show up during a title search if the property needs to change hands. Obviously, if the new owner wants to remove the fence and rescind the agreement, then they would come to the city and we would issue a document to have them remove the fence and cancel the agreement. So they would have flexibility for them, but the agreement will be binding for any future owner.
Okay, all right, thank you, Max. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. If there are no any questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Max.
Thank you.
Being no further business before the Board of Public Works, I adjourn.
With that, I will call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on June 7th, 2021.
Motion to approve.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, thank you. Any questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, that carries. Next up, we have a presentation, an audit presentation by Baker Tilly. I believe Andrea from Baker Tilly is joining us remotely to give us the presentation. Hi, Andrea. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I think so.
All right. Thanks for your time this evening and for allowing me to join you virtually. My name is Andrea Jansen, and I'm a partner in charge of the city's audit and part of our public sector practice team at Baker Tilly. For our time this evening together, I was planning to make a few general comments about the audit and the financial statements, and then we can cover the financial statement highlights in the meeting handout you would have received together, and then wrap up with some high-level comments about the audit results communication and open it up for questions from the group after that, if that works.
Sounds good.
Okay. So the bulk of our audit testing was completed back in March. Again, this year we did a remote audit due to COVID. So want to definitely take time to say thank you to Carrie and to Ruth and all the city staff that are very helpful to us in the audit process, both with their preparation and then answering questions of us while we are conducting the audit. So from our perspective, everyone was really responsive and was really just helpful in getting us the information that we needed to form our opinion on the audit, on the financial statements. So a few comments on the financial statements themselves. The city again this year issued a comprehensive annual financial report. It's the third year in a row that they've issued this documentation and are submitting to the GFOA for their award program. So the 2019 financial statements, as you probably know, you were awarded the Certificate of Achievement, and I believe Carrie submitted the 2020 report earlier today. So the auditor's opinion is on pages Roman numeral 10 and 11 of the financial statements. And again, this year we issued an unmodified opinion, sometimes referred to as a clean opinion, and that's the highest level of assurance that we're able to give. There were no new significant accounting standards required to be issued in 2020. But one change for this year is that there is a single audit required. So a single audit is essentially a compliance audit related to expenditures of federal and state grant awards. And it's required in a year where the city expends $750,000 or more of federal awards. So the due date for this compliance audit is typically the end of September for those with calendar year ends, but it's been extended due to COVID out to March 2022. We've started the planning for this phase of the audit, or the single audit, and expect to work through the testing within the next month, and we'll issue a separate report for the compliance audit at that time. So if you're looking at the financial statement audit opinion, the last paragraph in the audit opinion for the financial statements refers to the single audit report that's forthcoming. Next, we'll move to the financial statement highlights. Is it helpful if I share my screen, or do you all have the handout in front of you?
The handouts don't indicate what pages are. We laid our page numbers on top of yours.
Oh, I think I can see, or all of them that way, because I see the XII on some of them in the center of the page. But if you can, Andrea, present, because we do have some people here as well. I just think that'll be helpful.
Okay. Okay, can you see the financial statement highlight?
Yep, thank you.
So page 1 of this document focuses on the general fund balance, and as you may know, the general fund is the primary operating fund of the city, and fund balance is really what you have left. In simple terms, when you take your assets less your liabilities, it's the equity that you have left. So this chart shows both the 2019 fund balance in the general fund, those are the black lines, and then the 2020 fund balance categories. So the very top, you can see that fund balance has increased quite a bit to 9.9 million at the end of 2020. And we'll move down to actually the category on the very bottom of the chart, the non-spendable fund balance of 2.9 million. So non-spendable fund balance is sort of just as it sounds. It's made up of assets that are not in spendable fund form. You can't exchange them for something else. So things like inventories, prepaid items, advances to other funds, those are the types of things that fall into this category. So the increase is really related to prepaid items in this year. The city entered into some capital lease agreements where the equipment has not yet been received as of year end. So that's the increase there. Your restricted fund balance is really similar to last year. The largest balance in that category is related to future HRA payments. The assigned fund balance is less restrictive, so the city could assign funds for certain purposes or earmark the funds for certain purposes and then decide that they want to change their mind. You do have the ability to reassign or unassign those items in this category. But this balance of about $560,000 at the end of the year is made up of primarily carry forwards into the next year. And then the unassigned fund balance is about 6.1 million, and that is really money that has not been earmarked or designated for any particular purpose. It's money that you can use in case of emergency or just to have on hand as sort of a rainy day fund, some people call it. So below the chart here, we've got summarized income statement. So that this is showing you in the actual column how you got to that increase fund balance this year. You had net income of about $1.5 million in the general fund. You compare that to your final budget or what you had planned. You had planned for a net loss of about $679,000. And you can see the variances over here on the right. So the increase in revenues compared to budget was related to the capital leases primarily that I talked about. And then the expenditures primarily under budget in the public safety category. So moving on to page 2 of this document, we're still looking at the general fund balance, but here we are looking at the trend over the last 5 years and according to your policy. So the unassigned general fund balance, that category that hasn't been earmarked for any particular purpose, compared to the subsequent year budgeted expenditures. So that is what you've got here in this green line. And you can see you're pretty much right in the middle of your policy. The policy maximum is 10% above the median value for comparable municipalities. So we pulled together some data for comparable municipalities. We had 10 municipalities in that population, and the average population was about 31,477. So really right in line with your peer group and right in the middle of your policy. So no concerns there. Page 3 of the handout switches gears and talks about general obligation debt. So the black line at the top here is your statutory debt limit. And as a reminder, that's 5% of your equalized value. And so you can see that line is trending upward, which is good news as your equalized value trends upward. The green line is your actual general obligation debt outstanding at each of the last 5 years. And then you can see the policy line here in 2019 and 2020. So slightly below your policy at the end of 2020 and well below your statutory debt limit. You're at 31% of your debt limit. We also added a breakout of your debt outstanding by type underneath the chart. So here you can see general obligation debt, city versus utility. And then the capital lease is not included in your general obligation debt, but did want to note that that is outstanding at year end as well. And if you want to see comparative metrics for your debt, you can find that at this link. There's a whole bunch of metrics you can compare, individually against specific municipalities, or you can compare by county. So here again on page 4 of the handout, we are looking at debt. But in this case, we're looking at just your governmental funds, so not including your utility funds, and we're looking at how much you spend on debt. So the principal and interest costs are this green line here as a percentage of your non-capital debt expenditures. So those operating expenditures that you expect to have year over year. So you're at about 27% at year end, which is slightly above your policy maximum of 20%, but really not that far off from the comparative metrics, which are other municipal client data that we have for similar population ranges. So something you'll just want to keep an eye on, perhaps you want to revisit your policy if you continue to trend over your policy. It's sort of one of those things that there's nothing outside of your policy requiring you to be at 20%, but if that is your policy, you should continue to monitor. So page 5 here switches gears again, and now we're going to take a look at the utility results. So the first utility that we're going to look at is the water utility. You can see some information about the actual and authorized rates of return in 2020 versus 2019. As a reminder, the authorized rate of return is set by the PSC, and the actual rate of return is really the results of your operations during the year. So you can see that your operating revenues here are the green line, pretty flat over the last 5 years. And you can see your operating expenses are trending upward with some additional, I think, one-time maintenance items combined with some of the impacts of OPEBs and pension and health claims, I think, were the main cause of this increase in 2020. Next, we look at unrestricted cash reserves. So these are, just as I said, cash that's not restricted for any particular purpose. You can see you've got just about $5.8 million in unrestricted cash at the end of the year. That's about 14 months of operations. We want to see a minimum there of 3 months, so that's a really healthy balance. And then this last graphic at the bottom of this page shows the breakdown of your utility plant, so how much is equity-based versus debt. And you can see here that only 13% of your assets are funded by debt, and so we like to see that number under 50%. So again, a healthy balance here. And lastly, the sewer utility results. So similar information here just for the sewer utility. You can see that your operating expenses in this black line have actually been trending above your operating revenues the last couple of years. So that is something that you would want to take a look at it and monitor. If you expect that to be a longer term trend, then you may want to revisit rates. But again, here, the increase I would say is primarily related to pension, OPEB, and health claims in the last year. The unrestricted cash reserves, again, a really healthy balance here of almost 19 months or $6.5 million. And no debt when it comes to the sewer utility plant. So should you need to do any major upgrades or replacements, you would have room to borrow there. Let me share. Screen. And just make a couple of comments about the city's audit results, the communication report. It's got the graphic on the front cover of it. I thought I could share this quickly too. So I wasn't planning on going through this cover to cover here, but just wanted to mention that there's a lot of required communication in this document. We've got everything from audit responsibilities to audit approach and results. We talk about the key areas of focus for the audit. Internal controls are listed. The items that we identified as material weakness are listed on page 11 of this report. And this is really similar to last year because we prepare the financial statements on behalf of the city or parts of the financial statements. And we found material misstatements during the financial audit. We're required to report this as a material weakness. There's information about estimates. The material adjusting journal entries that we did find are listed here on page 13. There is information about upcoming audit standards on page 17. We don't expect anything for 2021, but the lease accounting standard will be a pretty significant change in 2022. The section about trending challenges and opportunities for organizations, I would recommend if you're going to look through that you do so in electronic format. There's a lot of different links to additional content on our website. And then the last section of this report, I was just going to mention Appendix C. There's a lot of required communication in this appendix too, but it is more forward-looking to next year's audit. So if there's anything that you become aware of during the year that you think we should know about, that you think could potentially impact our audit planning, feel free to reach out to anyone on the audit team. We do want to hear from you besides just during the audit. So I guess if there are any questions or if there's any pieces of the report that you'd like me to go through in more detail, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you, Andrea, for the presentation. Let's kind of open it up if there are any aldermen with questions for Andrea. Anyone have anything? No? All right. If not, then thank you, Andrea, so much for joining us this evening. And we really appreciate all your work and Carrie and her team's work as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. All right, next on the agenda is items for consideration. We have a resolution to accept donations to the Park and Rec and Forestry Department, and Mike is going to tell us about that.
Thank you. This evening, we have, again, a phenomenal list of impressive donations to our department. We are going to start with some more beach bum donations for the Regner Beach House project. We have several of the $1,000 donations this evening for that renovation project. Again, the Beach Bums program has been very successful, very popular amongst the West Benders that are out there. So this evening, we would like to recognize Robert Jacques, John and Cheryl Gillis, Mr. Derek Tyrus, and Miss Dwanielle Thomas, Boyd and Diane Janto, in memory of Chuck and Marlo Chapman, Bell Bank Mortgage, which includes Matt Schillinger and Amy Schmolt, and Jed and Ellen Dolnick. So thank you to those 7 beach bums. We appreciate your donations. Also for the Beach House project this evening, we have an impressive donation of $4,000 from Kevin and Linda Steiner. We also received an additional donation for the beach house of $100 from Ned and Jane Baldus. We also received a $5,000 donation from Kurt and Sue Culver Family Foundation. And we have one more donation for the beach house project of $10,000 donated by Horicon Bank. So thank you to all those supporters for this beach house project. We also have a $3,000 donation this evening by Independent Physicians of Wisconsin LLC for a new scoreboard at Quas Creek Softball Complex, Diamond Number 1. So again, thank you to all the individuals, the families, foundations, and companies in West Bend that are willing to step forward and support the entire community. So thank you.
Thank you to all of our generous donors, and we have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank them again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a resolution accepting donations to the West Bend Fire Department with Chief Kudek here.
Good evening. You have before you a resolution to accept 2 donations made to the Fire Department's smoke detector and CO detector program. As you know, that program gives free smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors to residents that request them. They also get a free fire safety inspection of their house. And tonight, 2 people were happy with that result and donated. Ronald and Joanne Garmans donated $100 to the program, and Victor and Barbara Bruning donated $25 to the program. The money's going to go into the revenue account and then reallocated into the expense account to purchase more smoke detectors and CO detectors. So we thank them.
Second.
A motion and a second. And thank them for their generous donations. Very appreciated. We have a very generous community. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, with no further business before the Finance Board, I will adjourn.
Thank you, Alderman Kennedy, and I'll resume the Common Council meeting. And we are on the consent agenda. I'd like to pull out items 2, 3, and 8, but I'll be looking for a motion to consent the rest.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Model and Kaler. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And if Alderman Butchlick can please take items 2, 3, and 8, as I'll be abstaining.
Okay, original Class A combination liquor license for Quick Trip 1062-1580 East Washington Street.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion opposed, motion carried. Original Class A combination liquor license was Quick Trip 1082-1625 West Washington Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Approval of long-term stormwater management practices maintenance agreement, Quick Trip 1058 Paradise Drive and River Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you, John. And we'll move to agenda items for consideration. Number 14, mayoral appointment of Kyle Zweig to the Community TV Committee. I'll just say quick, he's sitting back there, he can wave. He politely moved aside when I wanted to stick somebody else on the Community TV, but we just couldn't get rid of him, so now he's coming back to fill another vacancy, so we appreciate his willingness to serve.
Second.
Thank you, Kaler and Alan. Any comments, questions?
We're very happy to have you back, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. And all those in favor of his appointment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Kyle. And I'll move on to 16, an ordinance to amend section 7.172 of the municipal code. And who do we have speaking on that? Come on up.
This was
Nope, sorry. Thought they were coming up for that. Sorry, Jay, go ahead.
This was brought to you by the requester, the Kettle Moraine Club, a few months ago. You tasked Ian with drafting this. He received the model and cleaned it up. Both Max and Chief have received it. If you review and approve it tonight, they still have to go through the process of obtaining all the approvals internally. But this is the first step in that process for their event this fall.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alan and Muddle. Any questions or discussion?
Has anything changed since the presentation?
Not that I'm aware of. They still want to do the event as far as I know.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that passes. And number 17, approval of Library Associate 2 position. And we'll have a brief presentation by our, I shouldn't say new, I was going to say new, but our little bit seasoned library director, Steve
I
Thierry.
don't claim newness yet because that gets me out of trouble. So the library board approved the Library Associate 2 position. This is a position that will be used to do programming, collection development, and cross-train to work in other areas, other departments in the library. I worked with Jay and Michelle on determining the job description, the wage range, and we're working further to do a reorganization plan for the library. So that will be coming to you to inform you in the near future, I believe. So thanks for their help. I set the wage at the time of what I think would be reasonable to recruit somebody of this caliber, and this will be to replace. We have 2 resignations of librarians that are full-time librarians, master degree librarians, and this will be more of a community effort to bring up people and to train them in our ways of doing things at the library. So we'll have a savings in health benefits that'll be redistributed in a reorganization because of part-time instead of full-time, and their wage is a little bit lower than the regular librarian wage. Is there anything else I needed to tell you about? I think that covers it pretty much.
Sounds good. And I will look for a motion on that.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, BERGQUIST and Kaler. Is there any discussion or questions for Steve? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Steve. And then we'll turn over to reports. Number 18, a report by Alderman BERGQUIST regarding the library board meeting.
Hey, it seems like just yesterday. The last meeting of the library board was held June 15th. We approved the business of the board to include the financial reports. Of note was donations for the summer reading program from Nate and Katie Fisher, the West Bend Mutual, and the Optimist Club of West Bend. Thank you to everyone for donations. The library director, he stole some of my thunder, but reported that he's going to have staff members assisting him in doing radio programs, advertising some of the great things that the library staff is doing during the summer. He also reports that he beat the city administrator in a game of chess in Patrons Park. And Jay stepped out. It's like, come on, what the? Can we just pause for a moment while he comes back in? He's like, but no, we'll just have to hold it against him. So again, good job, Steve. No. The library president had nothing to report this time. We have the trustee education section, which we talked about developing essential policies, and you'll see how that plays out here in a minute. New business included the discussion of the Library Associate 2 position and the job description, plus reorganization of the library staffing. We also talked about the interim director compensation package that was brought up. To follow up on the trustee education, here it is. We took action on several policies that were addressed in the patron rules of conduct, which were kind of deemed unnecessary. So they were the unattended children policy, the beverage policy, R-rated DVD policy, and the cell phone policy, which were deemed unnecessary and were covered in the rules of conduct for the library. The next meeting is scheduled for the 20th of July.
Sounds great. Any questions?
Come on, you guys, come on.
All right. Well, as we have nothing else on the agenda, open up if there's any comments, announcements for the good of the order. He's back. You want to give him a hard time?
Hey, what's this? We hear you lost your chess match.
I just want to know what the bet was on the chess match.
No wagering.
Sounds good. Well, having no further business for the common council, I adjourn by the call of the chair. Have a great night.